traced my pumpkin onto my canvas, and I just used a white watercolor pencil to trace that. If you are in my group, this tracer is the exact same as the orange one we did last week. It's just reversed, okay? So you're gonna just reverse the transfer or the tracer, and we're gonna use different colors. So this one is gonna be blue. So we are gonna go ahead and get started. I'm starting with, I have two colors of blue. One is Spa Blue and the other one is Aqua Sky. So these are the two blues I'm using. Also have white. Thank you, Laura. And I have some green and brown for the stem, etc. And of course, the background is painted. It didn't come black. I painted it black with, you can just use any old black. And I used Anita's black from Hobby Lobby. Hey, Ann. So first I'm gonna go ahead and put some of these colors on my shoebox lid because I still can't find my palette. So if you're in the group, Angela, the tracer is in the guides. If you aren't, there is no tracer. I provide tracers for my members only. So if you're in there, check the guides. So this is the darker blue. Hello, Kim from Ice Cream Land. We're gonna get some whites. And I'm gonna wait on the other two colors because we're gonna do those last and I don't want them to get all dried out. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and get started. I'm gonna use about a 1/4 inch brush. Let me find it. I'm gonna use number 6 flat, which is about a 1/4 inch. And we're going to let some of this black show through in our painting because it kind of helps with outlining and shadowing. It makes it look really, really cool. So I'm gonna start with my lightest blue, which is the Spa Blue. And I'm just gonna start painting my little sections. And I'm not even gonna try to paint it perfectly, okay? We're just gonna get that shape in. And because this is a lighter color over the black, we may have to double coat it, but I'm gonna try real hard not to. I don't really wanna have to do that. We are gonna be open again, Connie, the week of the 13th after the challenge. Everybody in the challenge is gonna have an opportunity to join. And then we will open to the public. I think it's the 16th of September. So there is one section of the pumpkin. I'm just gonna keep painting these in. Oh, my bracelet's in my way. It's hindering me. So, and I'm gonna leave a tiny bit of that black showing between those pumpkin sections. And I'll show you what I mean in just a second. So see here where I left a tiny black line between these two pumpkin sections? I'm gonna do that all the way around. Okay, Rima. So I'm just gonna leave that thin line. And we're gonna probably cover some of that up when we do a little bit of highlighting and shading. Thank you for the sprinkles, Elaine. Yeah, if you have a friend or you know someone, your sister, your mother, your brother, that might be interested in hanging out and painting with us this week, if you'll just let them know we're here, just sprinkle this live on your page, let them know we're here and give them the opportunity. Too late, Rima said. Okay, I don't know what that means, but alrighty. So this is the Spa Blue. I'm just gonna fill in all my little sections. I'm digging this blue on black already, very much. So what are you guys doing? Obviously for nothing too intense for Labor Day, if y'all are hanging out with me. This is what I do 24/7, so that's why I'm doing it. That's not completely true. Y'all know I just came back from the beach, so that's a little bit of a fib, isn't it? All right, just gonna keep painting. Thank you, Kim. Thank you. I like having fun, which is probably why you think I'm fun, because, you know, life's boring otherwise. Things are so crazy out there in the world. Just gotta have some fun. Just gotta let it go. Get in your paint zone, have a little fun. Thanks, Rima. Yeah, the challenge is gonna be super fun. We're gonna learn how to paint sunflowers, super easy. If you're a beginner, you can do it. I'm basically giving you a tracer to trace the project onto your canvas so you don't even have to worry about drawing it. You just trace it, and then we're gonna fill it in like a coloring book. I'm gonna give you some pointers on beginner shading and highlighting, some pointers on beginner glass work, and we'll probably have just some silly fun too. I'm gonna teach you how to break your own glass. Okay, so I'm gonna let this dry while, get these out, while I put the first coat on my stem. You're welcome, Candy. I'm so glad that you are having fun. I love white pumpkins too. I think we're gonna do a white pumpkin tomorrow, so you guys stay tuned. Okay, so I'm gonna go in and use this raw umber to just base in my stem. And then while that dries, we'll come back to our pumpkin. And happy anniversary, Rebecca. We'll come back to our pumpkin and do some detail. All right. Thank you, Kim. So I'm just gonna bring in this brown. It's not gonna show up really well on the black, but when we come back to detail it, we're gonna add in a little bit of green and a little bit of white to make it really pop and stand out. So don't panic if you're painting along and it looks like it's not gonna show up, because it probably isn't until we do our next step. So we're just gonna get this first coat on. Ooh, got quiet. Normally around here, especially around this time of day, it's super loud, and it is like you can hear a lot of traffic and just horns blowing and stuff because of the location of my studio. And today, because it's a holiday, it is super quiet, almost creepy quiet. It's like, all right, people, I'm gonna need y'all to make some noise. All right, so I'm gonna get this painted. I start talking to myself. This black background is just all that in a bag of chips to me. I mean, I really love the contrast. And I'm anxious to see how this turns out. The orange one was spectacular. We're gonna do some super, super fun pumpkins this week. So y'all make sure to hang out, get those text notifications. If you don't, have them. Okay, now I'm gonna use this tiny little liner brush. That's not the liner brush I want. I'm gonna use this tiny little liner brush to make my curls, just that little tiny vine that comes out of the pumpkin stem, just to give it a little color, and then we will also add more color to that as well. Just that little bit of a vine. You can look at my brush. Can you tell? I left it sitting in the water, so it's got a little left curve to it, because I was terrible when I left here last and did not clean my brushes, so now it's all janky. I'll have to steam it and get it all fixed. All right, so our brown is base coated in. I don't know if you can really see that well, but we're gonna make that pop in just a minute. Kim, the challenge is, let me show you real quick. The challenge is this art piece. It's pumpkins and sunflowers. It starts next Monday, a week from today, and I am gonna pop in that link. Catherine, are you here, love? I think I saw you comment. If you're here, Catherine, can you message Sherry and see if either she or you can pop a link in to this live, since I'm crazy and didn't do it myself, since I was being bad. Okay, so I'm gonna get another brush and we're going to do some work on our pumpkin. Quick, easy, sloppy, nothing fantastical. We're just gonna add a little bit more color on each side of the little pumpkin sections to make those really three-dimensional and stand out, okay? So I'm gonna start by getting a little bit of this darker blue on just the corner of my brush, and then I'm just gonna kind of blend it out. And then I'm gonna come in, and on the left side of these first three sections, I'm just gonna add a little bit of that darker color, all right? Don't worry if it's not perfect, don't have to be. Nothing in life is, especially nothing in nature. So we're just add a little bit of that color. I'm gonna get a little bit more water, a little bit more paint. Just blend that in and bring that color down on that left side of those pumpkins. All right, just gonna keep going. Add a little paint. We'll start at the top and just bring that color down. Kind of blend it into the center of the pumpkin, so it's not a hard line. And I think we're gonna do this side too, and then we'll change to that side when we get to the smaller piece. So we'll do this. I'm just gonna blend it out, just kind of scrub it in, blend it towards the center a little. If you find that it's not blending out well, add a little bit of water to your brush. It's probably too dry. So now we're gonna change to the other side of the pumpkin, because that's how light operates. And we're gonna turn that blue. Just quick and easy, flop it on, blend it out. Flopping is a very technical artist term. If you didn't know, just flop it on. So again, blend it in, and the last little piece there. All right, so now I'm gonna take white and do the same thing on the opposite side of the pumpkins. So I'm gonna take my white and I'm just gonna come around and fill in a little bit of color on the opposite side of those pumpkins. You can blend it over a little. And that's when it really starts to take shape. So we'll go to the opposite side of the darker blue, blend it down. Didn't quite get enough that time. You know what, Marilyn? I understand that. And you know what? In the beginning, when I first started painting, when I was probably 20, I really struggled with that too. But just, here's what you kind of have to do, I think, sometimes, is don't stress over it. You know, it doesn't have to be perfect. We're not creating, you know, Mona Lisa. We're just making fun art. So try to just give yourself some grace and don't stress over perfection. And don't be afraid to be a little messy. That would be my advice. Don't be afraid to be a little messy. So we're gonna do this side. And just scrub it in, blend it a little. And then we're gonna keep going. See how I'm leaving those black lines? I am gonna hide them a little bit in a minute, but for the most part, I wanna see some of that black showing through. Blend that in. I'm just getting it on the corner. I'm gonna blend it in. Almost done with that. That last little piece, make sure it's kind of blended in. Okay, so that is our shading and our highlighting. The highlighting is the light color and the shading is the dark color. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna take my brush, not that one, I want a dry one. Let me get a dry one. I'm gonna take my brush and I'm gonna just add a little, okay, this is a dry brush. I'm using it dry, okay, no water. I'm gonna get a little bit of that dark on the tips of my bristles, and I'm gonna blend it out. Just kind of scrub it in to your bristles there so it's not just heavy loaded. And I'm gonna come in, I'm just gonna brush through. I got a little too crazy. I'm gonna brush through and just add over the white a little bit of that blue. And then we're gonna do the same thing with the white. You just kind of scrub in a little blue in some places. And you could also use another color, orange even, that would be super cool. So now I've got white. I'm gonna blend it into my bristles. I'm just gonna come over here. Whoops, I got a little crazy there. And just lightly scrub over the top of that blue. And that's gonna help with your shading too. It's gonna kind of give it a more abstract look. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Let me see if I can pin that. Oh, it is pinned. Wonderful, thank you, Sherry and Catherine. Okay, so I'm not 100% like happy with this so far, but I think what I'm gonna do is go ahead and work on my stem a little, and then once the stem is done, we'll come back. We may add a little more color to this pumpkin because it's not making me happy right now at all. So Sherry and Catherine posted the link to that challenge. If you are interested, we'd love to have you. It is only $10, 4 days of hands-on, step-by-step assistance in creating that piece. And I'll show it to you again when we're done. So I'm gonna put a little bit of green and I'm gonna go back into my brown and I'm just gonna re-wet this in a couple of places. Re-wet the brown. It's just gonna be easier to blend the green in if the brown is wet. That really, Roxy wants to know if there's a rule of thumb for shading and highlighting, and there is. And basically, you have to determine which direction your light is coming from, and you just make that up in your own little head. So let's say the light is coming from this direction to your art piece, and you just determine that by how you're painting. So if the light's coming here, it's gonna hit all the places that are highest on the left side. And then the three-dimensional aspect is gonna make the right side a shadow. So you determine your light. Mine looks like it's coming from right here because all of my white, which is the highlight, is in this direction, okay? And so it's shadowing on the opposite side like this. Does that make sense? Probably not. Okay, I'm gonna go into my green. And I am just going to scrub in some green. I need to wet my brush a little. On top of that wet brown. And I'm not trying to cover up all the brown, okay? I'll let it dry a little. Just adding in another dimension of color. So let me add a little white. We'll come in on this side. This is super messy, super not, you know, hang on. Not stressing over the small stuff, basically, is what I'm trying to say. I'll turn this a little. My hand is a little shaky today with arthritis. So basically be super messy when doing your stem. Don't be afraid to just be a little messy, and because I mean, if you've seen a gnarly old pumpkin stem, then you know you're not going to want to paint it perfect. And there's nothing perfect about it. So I'm going to get a little bit of a smaller brush to go down into these little areas where the stem grows out of the pumpkin. And then we'll hit that again in just a second. So I'm going to use just a round point. This is a number 6. So I'm going to roll into the green. Just roll your brush back and forth. Then I'm going to just pull in that green along those stems, along those little sections. And then we'll hit it with a little bit of brown too. Yes, you do. I mean, absolutely. You know, especially for something like this, you just decide where the light's coming from and then follow, you know, that with your shading and highlighting. And I'm going to just flat out tell you the honest truth. I rarely even worry about that. I just make it look how I want it to look. I'm not a very good rule follower when it comes to that kind of stuff. So, but that is how it works. Determine where your lighting is coming from, and that's how you're gonna highlight and shadow. I just make my own rules. The green is avocado. All right, so now I'm gonna go into a little bit of that brown that I don't have anymore. I'm gonna add some to my palette. Just add it to my dirty brush. I didn't even rinse the green off my brush. Just gonna add it on and just come in and just add a little brown right on top of that green. You're not really trying to cover it up, just trying to give it a little more color and a little more dimension. So we'll hit those. Then I'm gonna go back into my green, same brush, dirty as all. I'm gonna go back into that green and I'm just gonna rub in a little more. Then we're gonna hit with a little bit of white mixed in with that green. Actually, I'm gonna get some brown first. I'm just gonna keep futzing with this until I like it. Mixing the brown and the green. And I do need to hit the little curly part of the stem with some green so it stands out better. And I think, honestly, for me, for the stem, the kind of the messier you are, the better it is. I mean, don't make it all one color. Don't make it perfect. Don't make it solid. I'm going to come in with a little bit of white on my dirty brush so it's not stark white. Blend in. There we go. All right, so my little curly cue that's coming off the side of my pumpkin stem, I'm gonna get that teeny tiny little baby brush again that I janked up. It looks like a J now. See what I did? And I'm gonna just put a tiny bit of this green alongside the brown so that it shows up better. See how you really can't see it that well right now? So I'm just gonna put a tiny bit of green along one side of that little brown that we did. Then I'm going to go into the white, tiny, tiny, tiny bit of white, and do the same thing kind of on the other side. So that makes that stem, hang on, pop a little better. Just scribbling out my mistakes. So that makes that really kind of stand out a little bit better. Now I want to tell you this too. In the challenge, we don't go this fast, okay? Inside the 4-day challenge that we're doing with the sunflowers and pumpkin, we are gonna go step by step, slowly explaining every step that we're doing and explaining everything along the way. This is kind of just a fun little live and not meant to really be an instructional. It's just kind of a way to show you what you can do. But now we gotta address this pumpkin because I think for me, it might be a little too blue. Maybe that's what it is. A little bluer than I want. So I'm gonna get a wet brush. I'm gonna go into the white a little and let's see what we can do. Got a little bit of blue on there too. And I'm just gonna come in. I like that. So I took the white and a tiny bit of that light blue, which is the spa blue, and just come back over the top of some of that darker blue if you feel like you've gotten that too strong. So I like that better. I like that way better. It's kind of more muted. All right, so now I'm gonna get a little bit, I'm gonna get a dry brush. It's not dry. Look, 1,000 brushes and I can never find the one I want. So I'm gonna get a little bit of white, just white on this dry brush. And I'm gonna do that thing again where I'm just gonna kind of hit the top, obviously, just the top of each little section just to give it a little bit of light. All right, now I'm starting to like it. Maybe liking it now. Now I'm gonna futz with my stem a little too. Give it a little more dimension. Okay, guys, voila. I'm very happy with this now. It was just a little dark for me. And I have to admit, I do like this a little better in the orange, but we're gonna make a whole family of pumpkins, so that's just how it's gonna be. So what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna add a little bit of Starfire glass. You could use Starfire or clear, or break your own clear bottle and add it to your canvas. But we're gonna use the clear, and we're gonna mix up just a 1/2 of an ounce of resin. So I'm gonna mark my cups, 1/4 ounce each. I just trace this with a watercolor pencil, but you can buy at Walmart in their sewing department, you can buy fabric transfer paper, and it comes in pink, yellow, white, blue, and so I would suggest just a lighter color transfer paper to transfer over the top of black. So I'm gonna do 1/4 ounce, I have to find that line, and 1/4 ounce. Whew. Of resin, so let's get those gloves on. Actually, let me put my glass where I want it. Yeah, I just used watercolor pencil, just a white one. If you are good at like hand sketching, pumpkins are super easy. And, but yeah, if you need to trace, just go to the sewing department and get yourself, even at Hobby Lobby in the sewing department, and get yourself some of the fabric transfer paper that comes in different colors. So I'm gonna add some glass to a couple of these pumpkin sections. We have Starfire. It's been a very busy glass weekend for us, and we'll be updating the website in the morning. That is Miss Carla's thing. She is off today since it's a holiday. So we'll be getting that fixed in the morning, and I also have tons more glass that was supposed to be delivered today. I don't know if it has or not. It was supposed to. So I'm just gonna add a few little nuggets of glass to just a couple. I want the smaller pieces, so that's why I'm kind of nitpicking. So I'm just gonna add a little bit of this Starfire. You could use clear as well, especially on this blue pumpkin. Clear has a little bit of a bluish hue to it. So we're just gonna add a little bit here and there. We'll do 3 of them. I don't want those great big pieces. And then we're gonna add the resin. Let's see. It's being ornery, mostly because a lot of times I just throw the glass on and kind of push it around. And because I'm trying to kind of place it where I want it on this piece, it's giving me fits. So I'm just gonna have to stop and walk away because it's driving me crazy. Do one little piece there. All right, I'm gonna be done. So it's like frost on the pumpkins. Just add a little bit of glass. That is like a teaspoon or a tablespoon of glass. That is like, wouldn't even make a dent in your 1 pound package. And now I'm gonna put my gloves on. We're gonna mix some resin. Mary, the difference between clear and Starfire. Starfire is, I know it's odd, but I didn't make these names up, Mary. Starfire is perfectly clear glass. Okay, it has no color at all. It's perfectly clear. Clear has a little bit of a blue hue to it. Starfire is perfectly clear. Clear is not. I know it makes no sense, but I didn't make it up. One me. Okay, so I'm gonna mix a 1/4 ounce of resin and a 1/4 ounce of hardener for 1/2 ounce total. And this is super hard to do, this small of amount for me, so hang on. I gotta hold my mouth right. All right, there is the hardener. Now we'll do the resin in this cup. Donna, give yourself some grace. I bet you can. Just takes a little practice. And whose legs are perfectly the same length anyway, right? That's what I'm saying. Mine aren't, I can tell you that. Ever since I had my hip replacement surgery last year, my hip replacement leg is about a 1/4 inch longer. Thank you, Catherine. About a 1/4 inch longer than my left leg, so my right leg is longer. And I literally, when I wear tennies, I literally have to put a really skinny shoe lift in my shoe or it makes my back hurt. So I've had a backache all summer because I'm a flip-flop girl and you can't wear a shoe lift in flip-flops. So over the winter, I'm hoping when I have to wear my tennies and my boots again that my back will stop hurting. Because it does, even that little bit of difference makes a difference in your hips and how your legs shift and all that. So I'm definitely wonky too. All right, so I'm gonna stir this for 3 minutes. We're gonna mix all this in for 3 minutes while Catherine times me. And now is a wonderful time for anybody who has a question about our 4-day challenge. We are doing, whoa, Nellie, see? I can't do 2 things at once. Hot mess alerts. Okay, I'll fix that in a minute. But I'm gonna put out this challenge piece while I'm mixing so you guys can see it. All right, I'm gonna really sell this. stir this now, Catherine, I promise. So that is our piece that we're doing in our 4-day challenge. Day 1, we're going to be painting the background. Day 2, we'll be tracing on the pattern. You do not have to be able to draw this yourself. You just trace it on, either using the pencil method or using tracing paper, graphite paper. And then we'll start doing our painting on days 2 and 3. And on day 4, we'll be adding glass and resin. If you don't want to add glass and resin, you could leave your painting just as it is, or you could add something else like coffee beans. You could have a video on how to break your own glass. You could do seed beads. You could just about put anything in the center of those sunflowers that you want. So all of the glass and resin are optional. You'll still have a fabulous piece no matter what. Yes, that's right, Cheryl. It is a skill learned. It definitely is. Nobody was born knowing how to paint or draw. So we're gonna stir this for 3 minutes. So if anybody has a question about the challenge, $10, 4 days in a row of 20 to 30, 40-minute workshops. The first day probably is 15 minutes, depending on how much I chitty chat. And then the second day will be a little longer. The third day will be the longest day. And I'm gonna say, depending on how many people and how much chatter, and how many questions, we're gonna do probably about 45 minutes, and then the last day will probably be 20 minutes. So we're gonna walk you through step by step. So we'd love to have you in our challenge. It's gonna be super fun, super fun. No questions, awesome. I'm gonna assume that means you all in the challenge already. So I'm still stirring. Kristen, it starts at 7 p.m. Central Time every day, Monday through Thursday. So 7 p.m., but don't fret it if you can't make it at 7 p.m. because once we're finished with that 7 p.m. live, the recording goes into the guide so that you can come back and watch that anytime you want. You have forever access to this challenge. Once you pay your $10 to register, you have forever access to that challenge so you can make your art piece with us. You can make it next week, next month, or next year. The challenge is free to members of the Shattered Circle. And if you are a member, you need to go to the Shattered Circle Facebook page and go to the announcements, and there's a link for showing you how to sign up for the class. Yes, Donna, anytime you want. If you sign up, you can go back and access it anytime you want. Just make sure to save the link. That's right, Kristen. Go get him some hamburgers. Yay, Cheryl. Awesome. Any other questions before we run out of stirring time? Yeah, the minute you sign up, you get an email right away. So if you sign up, you need to go within 2 minutes and look for that email. It's most likely going to pop into your junk file because that's just the nature of the beast with email these days. And so go look for that. It'll be a welcome. Thank you, Catherine. It'll be a welcome email. Welcome to the Sunflower Pumpkin Workshop, yada, yada, yada. And in that email, you're going to find a link to the private Facebook page where you're going to go and ask to be admitted. And then on September, we'll probably do a video sometime before the workshop starts just to get everybody acclimated, let everybody know what's happening. But you'll need that, and you'll also, in that email, get a supply list for everything that you need for the challenge. So let's go ahead and get this started. Yeah, if you're a Shattered Circle member already, the link to join the membership, or the link to join the challenge is inside the Facebook group for the members, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and drizzle over my glass. And get that glass covered. It is so nice here today, guys. When I got up and worked a little bit at home on computer stuff and editing some videos for next month. And then when I decided I was gonna get out here, come to the studio and do a little quick live, it was so nice. It's been so stinking hot in Memphis, in this area for the whole summer. I mean, we completely skipped spring. I'm just gonna dump the rest of this out. We completely skipped spring and went straight to summer. And look how, I don't know if y'all can see what a difference just that little bit of resin makes. But it's only 82 degrees today, and I rolled down my windows and opened my sunroof, turned my music up, and was singing, what's that song I was singing? Ballroom Blitz. Who remembers that song? I had my radio on a 70s station, and Ballroom Blitz was on. Is that not awesome? Fran, it's just one layer really, depending on what I'm doing. Sometimes I put on a pretty thick layer of glass, and sometimes I just put a small layer. Because we're using minimal glass for this piece, I just put a few little chunks. They're not really layered or stacked up at all. So it's just kind of one layer of glass. Not too much at all. Probably a tablespoon of glass total, if that. So I'm gonna turn this a little bit just so I can get to that side without getting my arm in the resin. Just spread that around. I'm gonna make sure my edge. I don't like to put so much resin on my piece. Isn't that the best song ever? I was rocking and rolling, honey. I was singing, probably glad nobody else was in the car. They would have been sad, because I was singing at the top of my lungs. So I'm just rubbing right along the top of that curved edge to make sure that I don't have anything dripping over the edge. I don't like to do my edges. To me, it's a waste of resin, and it looks perfect without it. So I am just going right to the edge. And I have no drips and runs, so we're golden. So now we're gonna pop these bubbles, and then I'm gonna show you close up what it looks like. So I'm using a little propane torch. You could use a kitchen torch, like one of those little baby creme brulee torches, or you could use one of those embossing heat guns. They're about 15 bucks at Hobby Lobby. Here's your coupon. Oh, I guess they don't have coupons anymore, do they? So here is, I see a little skippy spot. Hang on. I'm gonna grab my little tool and add a little bit of resin there, and then I'm gonna hit it with the torch again. I had one little spot because I didn't look very good to make sure it was covered. So let's hit it one more time to make sure that spot goes away. We are done.